Hey there folks, and welcome to this video. This is a general notice. It's where I start off the week, and I've just checked this. For the first time in 2 months, I'm starting off the week by talking about the world of motorsport, talk about what's coming up on this channel, and just a couple of things that are on my mind. I've got a lot that I want to get through this week, so let's try and get through it as quickly as we can. Starting off with what we've got on this channel. As for CSRE, firstly, thank you so much. Everybody's made it to 100 subscribers on that channel. With this channel, I checked it. It was literally the very end of 2018, the very start of 2019, that I got to that point with this channel. So that was 4.5 years of daily uploads. This was barely 4 months of weekly uploads. So I like to think I'm getting better at this, but also it's nice to see that that kind of thing is going on as well. If you do like any kind of sim racing content, like if you were here for example, the content that I did with Race 07, you can check out the link to that channel in the description section down below. Anyways, this channel this week. Hopefully tomorrow I can get a preview out for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. McLaren might wrap up the title there. At the same time, I hope to get a review out for GT World Challenge Europe at Nürburgring. It was a 3-hour endurance race. I just finished watching that yesterday. Then on Wednesday, I'm hoping to get the Indy 8-hour, isn't it? Preview out, or whichever one it is for IMSA, the Battle of the Bricks, I think it is. Maybe I'll do some IndyCar stuff. I don't know yet. I've got a lot of that to catch up on, so I might just spread that out over the off-season. Then on Thursday, 2 previews. BTCC at Silverstone, the penultimate round at its Silverstone National, and the finale for WorldRX. We'll talk about WorldRX in a moment, though. That's at Istanbul Park. We will then get a review out, hopefully, for the Suzuka 1000 kilometers on a Friday. And then on a Saturday, I'm hoping to sit down and watch both the Supercars and the WTCR at the Bend. I haven't been watching much WTCR this year, to be honest. Watched the first stuff in Mexico, and that was pretty much it. Then on Sunday, reviews for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and the WorldRX of Türkyie. And then on Monday, hopefully an IMSA review. And then on Tuesday, the NASCAR New Hampshire, as well as the next general notice. I've talked about that for long enough. Let's start off with the WorldRX headline. WorldRX announced that the finale was going to be a double header at Istanbul Park using a one-day format. It's now been confirmed, and it's a different one-day format to what we knew. It used to be that you'd go through all of the heats and then go to the finals and then just reset for the next day. However, with EuroRX there, and with the fact that this was originally on the EuroRX calendar, but the final one wasn't, they decided to do something a bit different in the way that the FIA loves to. So it used to be the support series was spread over the 2 days. In this case, they're not doing that. They're running all of the Supercars heats together. This has been something they've wanted to do all season. They tried to do it for Finland when it looked like the Hansens weren't going to make it. But when the Hansens made it, they were like, okay, we're not going to do that. But what they're going to do is, in the heats, all of those championships for the Supercars will be together. They'll score points separately. And then the finals will be separate for the first event for WorldRX and what will be the finale for EuroRX. Because then they're going to allow the EuroRX competitors to compete in the finale of WorldRX to try and spice up the competition. I guess to try and see if they can get that title battle to go down to the final round and Johan Kristoffersson doesn't, just wrap it up the first bit of Istanbul Park. Now, for me, that's very helpful because when I look at the preseason predictions that I had things like at least one manufacturer would win in both ICE and electric. Technically, the final round didn't happen because they had to shoehorn it in on the day of the original final round. The KMS would win at least one championship. Electric will claim one title, but also at the same time, you'd have ICE privateers. You'd have one additional manufacturer. We could actually get that as well. One EuroRX competitor to take part in the finale. We could get that as well. It's like a dream. It's almost like the FIA is watching this channel. But, yeah, it's interesting. The FIA's running of this series, I think interesting is a way to describe it. You can hear my fan firing up because I've just been installing the iRacing update. There's a patch, and I've got to do my second round of Zandvoort got taken out of the start line of my one yesterday morning. But yeah, the FIA's management of it has been interesting this season. Because you could tell that it's just trying to shoehorn things in to try and, win over the fans. Because MBS is an election year, and he's trying to pull out all the stops to get re-elected. That's why you heard at the start of the year, oh yes, F1 will have V10s. Rubbishing the new engine rules before they even come in. It's like, yes, we've got these new rules coming in, but they're already rubbish. Let's talk about what's going to happen in the next set of rules. And actually, midway through the rules, we could just change the engines. Instead of having these turbo hybrid V6s, why don't we bring back the V10s? Why don't we know? We're not going to do that because teams don't like that. V8s. What about some sustainably fueled V8s? And this is what they did here. Robert Reid resigned, in part because of the fact that they just went, WorldRX is ours now. We're going to run it. Oh, and to satisfy the rule of 6 rounds, we're going to have the finale take place at the same venue as the penultimate round. Oh, World Championships are meant to be in outside of Europe? Wow. Türkyie is an Asian country. Sure, it's on the European side of Istanbul, where we go to Istanbul Park, but technically it's Asia, so that qualifies. It is just wild. And it feels like it is just these last gasp attempts by Ahmed bin Salayem to get the re-election bid successful. It just feels like that. Let me know your thoughts though in the comment section down below. We're going to move on to talking about F1. Because over the off week, it has come to light that Sainz's penalty in Zandvoort for the clash with Liam Lawson has been rubbed off. So, yeah, the reason for this is because some of these things around racing rules were a bit weird. F1 has its own unique guidance on this. No other series does it quite like F1 does. And yeah, it just basically is a lot of Verstappen rules in a way. But Verstappen rules used to be things that Verstappen does that get banned. In this case, it's almost condoning it, going in and just not giving anybody else the space. The back out or we crash. Oh, you didn't back out, we crash. It's your fault. That's essentially what happened with Sainz. Now, the writer review, they said, oh, the full 360-degree camera was not available at the time. Once we had that, we decided we're going to do this. I'd much rather that they don't do the penalties at the moment. They go, okay, we're going to review it after the race once we have all the footage. And then maybe even they decide a day or two later. So that's probably because of the fact that I follow NASCAR, where often there are penalties announced 2 or 3 days later. Like if a car fails tech, the penalties are announced after the fact. You don't have to do it all the time. If there's a tech violation, like if there's an L1 or L2 penalty, they'll do that in the midweek. I know they're saying, oh, we need to make sure that fans don't go home thinking there's a different result. But if you're a fan at F1, you don't get to see everything when you're at the track. When I went to British Grand Prix and I was working at the British Grand Prix, I went home and I watched the race after, because even though I was literally in the paddock, I couldn't tell what was going on. With the WRC, even though I was there at the stage side, I was there on the start ramps and the finish ramps. Not actually the start ramp, no, because I was in Liverpool, wasn't it, that year? I was there for the first stage, I was there for the final ceremony. I still went back and watched it, because you only saw like a few corners. The only stages that I got to see to some degree was the final sector of the Altered Park test, and then the Cohen Bay stage. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. It's interesting, and I wonder if there's going to be more discussions about this in the future. There are definitely going to be discussions about this last one though, and that is that Max Verstappen seems to be set on doing the Nürburgring 24 hours. It could be that he could even try and do it for next year, because next year's race happens in a gap between Miami and Canada. He did a run in the Porsche Cayman GT4 for Lion Speed over the weekend, and due to damage to one of the cars, he only took part in one of the races, and I think only they're just about satisfied the number of laps for that one race, but they still given him a permit because, of course, they have. And I don't mean to sound particularly flippant with that. I think that it's good that they've done that, because there are some things like if you are an F1 driver, I think you automatically get a platinum rating if you apply for an endurance license. I think that's pretty cool to do because it encourages them to go and do other things. I think that sports should be doing that. And maybe even to the degree that if you're a midfield driver and you're very capable of machinery, why not bookend your F1 calendar with commitments elsewhere? And we saw it with Pascal Wehrlein, right? He's done it. Nico Hulkenberg famously won Le Mans on an off week from F1, right? Encourage that. Encourage these sporting icons to do these things. It was so wild to see NASCAR getting so upset about Kyle Larson trying to do the 1100. Like, the fact that they spent so long last year going, ooh, are we going to take away his playoff waiver if he chooses to do the 500 and 600 on the same day? It just seems a bit silly. And the reason why F1 has these rules is Bernie Eccleston. It was Bernie who said, oh no, you have to have 2 drivers the entire time. You can only change the driver lineup twice in a season. You can only have a maximum of 4 drivers in your team unless absolute force majeure. And I seem to remember that was one of the things with Red Bull in 05, right? Because they had Christian Klein and Vitantonio Liuzzi signed up. They were going to try and rotate them, so each one did half the season. But they rotate them around the tracks. And Bernie said, nuh-uh. Why not do that? I mean, this is something I've talked about for years. I think, was it even as far back as, say, 2017? I said, add a third car for junior drivers, or add a third car for rotation, or do something like that. I think it's a good thing for F1 to do. I think these restrictions are completely artificial. And they are because Bernie was Bernie when he was running the sport. I think it's worth changing them. But maybe that's just me. Thank you so much for watching and joining, folks. If you do enjoy this content, you can subscribe for more. I do at least daily videos, and as you've heard from the announcements part of this, I might even have a few days this week where I'm doing 2 or more. If you are interested in the gaming side of it, go over to CSRE, that's linked in the description, as are all the articles for what I've discussed here today. But, as always, until next time, thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.